I know honestly the PTA is often leading the way in showing that appreciation to our teachers. And boy, oh boy, this year, more than ever before, I think there's a Harris poll that just came out that said 82% of Americans have a deeper appreciation for teaching than they did before the pandemic. So thank you all for lifting teachers up. I'm just going to give a couple of brief remarks and then take questions because I think that's what folks would most prefer. First of all, you may have seen, and hopefully you've already seen our communications today, that we are returning to school in person 5 days in the fall. This is a message I have said broadly over a month ago, and actually even 2 months ago, that we were planning, and we are finalizing all of our details. But we certainly reshared that to our community today. We've had less than 1% COVID transmission in our schools. The vaccinations are upon us in great eligibility opportunities, not just now with adults, not just those 16 and above, but we believe any day now there will be eligibility for those 12 and above, and that eligibility for those 2 and above will be available by September. I do expect additional vaccination information for our students in FCPS schools will be available in the days ahead, and I will have updates for you that I just simply don't have now. But we want to vaccinate as many of our students before they even leave for this school year as we prepare for next school year. And so we'll have more information to share. We did share too that we will have a limited temporary virtual option next year for those kids that have medical needs that can only be met, that would put them at high risk of returning to school if they were to return in person. And I really am hopeful that we will get the large majority of our students returning in person, but we are putting out that intent form and asking families to reach out to their doctors if they feel that they have that need. I will say I do expect from hearing from doctors already that they very much are telling me, pediatricians across Fairfax, that they support our approach, that they believe kids need to be back in schools, and really even kids that may be seen as higher risk under CDC guidelines, that doctors are going to be, many of them are going to be encouraging students and family members to have their kids return. And especially as we see the vaccination continue to pick up and be available for our young kids. I want to just mention too, I know you already know this, and you all were part of helping push at the state level. I know we have more flexibility around all-night grad and prom and other social gatherings that are of course PTA and PTO events, of course PTA events, and PTSA events. 100 people maximum indoors, 250 maximum outdoors for social gatherings. And that does not change whether it's school property or not. And then for promotion ceremonies and award ceremonies in sports and entertainment venues, we have even greater flexibility at indoor up to 1,000 people or 50% occupancy. And that's just fantastic. And outdoors, it's up to 50% occupancy of that area. And then for graduations, we're doing all of our graduations in person this year. We're thrilled. Some schools are doing it at the football stadiums. Some will be using 3 central sites. We have stadiums at Fairfax, Woodson, and Hayfield. And some schools will be using Jiffy Lube. And graduations can be indoor up to 1,000 people or outdoor up to 5,000 people, or 50% of the occupancy. So most of our graduations, if not all, I think are going to be outside, and high schools are communicating with families on ticket limits. Finally, I just want to mention the budget. We shared our proposed budget yesterday with the school board, And compared to where we were a year ago, it truly is a good news budget compared to where we thought we would be a year ago as we looked ahead. The budget I shared does have a compensation increase for our employees, a 2% increase. We did receive additional dollars from the Fairfax County Board of Supervisors. We got 14 million more in February and 15 million more 2 weeks ago when they did markup. And that is allowing us to give compensation 2% for our employees. We're also going to be expanding English language staffing in our elementary schools. We're going to be expanding AARTs to more of our schools that help support kids in advanced academics and getting more and more kids access to that. We are going to be able to also look at providing some support as we look at collective bargaining on the horizon. We're going to have I wonder if I actually have it listed here. I don't know if I do. Let me see if I have it here. I don't think I have it. We're going to have a neurodiversity specialist, and we're going to hire a specialist for social emotional supports. So we've got more in the budget than we thought we could have had over a year ago. And so really happy to see that. We will have some additional federal dollars for ESSER 3, the big stimulus that came out just recently from Congress and the administration. But we will be having some public outreach about the spending of those dollars before we spend them. And I will have more to share with you on that. So I see there's folks doing a couple of questions. We will have summer programs, bridge programs. The transportation will be provided. We will have free breakfast and lunch throughout the summer. And we will have more information, but we may even have good news about the fall. And, the parent volunteer issue is something that the state had certainly been asking us to limit when we were in this pandemic. And I think I can take back to the team looking about what we can do for volunteers this summer and fall. I don't think there'll be changes here at the end of the school year this year, but I can look and work with the state about additional flexibility for the summer and fall. The award ceremonies that are held indoors may have up to 1,000 persons or 50% of the lowest occupancy load of the certificate. So if you're in an elementary gym, you need to ask what that occupancy is in the gym, and you can have 50% of that if it's inside the school. So I think those are the questions. Let me see.
Dr. Brabant, it's Larry. How are you?
Good.
I got a couple from earlier on here I'd like to pass on, if you don't mind.
Sure.
I'm gonna read it verbatim, so no preference here. I still have parents who are wondering how we will be able to accommodate all students at 5 days next year when many schools aren't able to bring students back this spring due to capacity issues. Are you thinking students will be able to sit even closer next year? Has there been talk about how lunch will be handled? Or are we hoping the kids will be vaccinated and it won't really be much of a concern?
Yeah, I'm sorry. You know what, Larry? I hadn't scrolled all the way up, and now I see a couple others here.
Yeah.
So let me take that one. Okay. We are gonna. First of all, I hope many of you know the Virginia General Assembly passed a law effective July 1st. Schools must provide in-person instruction and follow CDC guidelines to the maximum extent practicable. So the law is clear that we must provide in-person instruction, and we plan to do it according to the law, of course, following that guidance to the best that we can. I really think, again, that CDC guidance may change. I mean, it's changed in the last 4 months, and I expect it will change in the next 4 months as well. But if it is at 6 feet in lunch and 3 feet in the classrooms as it is now, we will do our best. Could it be a little less than 3 feet in some classrooms next year? It is possible. Could it be a little less than 6 feet in the cafeteria next year? Yes, it's possible, though we are for lunch ordering more and more tents. We've ordered several already that have come to schools, more on the way, and we're really going to continue to be dispersing kids at lunchtime, either to classrooms, hallways, or outside. I do also think vaccination, which I, couldn't have predicted even 3 weeks ago, that vaccination is ramping up to be able to be available for younger and younger kids quicker than we expected. And there will be vaccinations of kids in Fairfax County Public Schools before this school year ends. And so I'll have more to share about that. I just don't have it tonight. But the Danny Avula from the state, Virginia Department of Health, announced on Friday a major push to have school vaccination. And we're going to have a call with the state superintendent next Tuesday. And I will have more to share with the community in the days ahead. And I know, Michelle, I see you had one. Yes, I hope vaccinations will be aged down. Again, breaking news last night is that Pfizer believes they will get permission again for 12-year-olds any day now, and for 2-year-olds and up, which would really be almost all of our kids, even in our preschool, though we have a few that are 6 months old, and they're doing studies on those kids now, infants, but 2 years old and up by September. And that will be a huge game changer. And I can't wait to share more information with you when I have it.
My question there is, once students are vaccinated, will they be able to return to the classroom before the end of the semester if they are on virtual in the fall?
Oh, Michelle, we've asked folks to stick with us for the semester because of all of the staffing implications of teachers and kids then overcrowding classrooms. We really are asking for it to be at the semester. To be honest, Michelle, what I'd say to you, I'm hoping that the news for vaccination will actually accelerate a bit more, and we can make those changes before the school year starts in late August if families want to start the year straight back. But we are asking for families to at least, if they feel they really, again, we really hope most families come back in person. And those families that feel absolutely there's a medical need and they got to have the vaccination, we're really going to ask them to really try to stay with us for that first semester at least, and then switch people back over. Because if the numbers drop enough at semester, we can bring the teachers and the kids back into the base schools. And teachers will still be tied to base schools, so will kids. And that we could just bring everybody back in at the semester. But it's that crystal ball that we still don't have completely. We are going to look at the relaxed standards around sharing soccer balls and pencils. But again, we're trying to partner with our health department and suggest that we can go further and further. And I can get an update for you all on that as well. So I hope that is helpful information. I do think someone had in here, Jenna, that a trauma-informed specialist, I just don't have it in front of me. We had a couple of specialists in the budget, and those are still in the budget. And it may be a trauma-informed specialist. And then we also had I'm so mad at myself that I don't have it now. It should be on our website, and it was presented. A neurodiversity specialist, and I think it was a trauma-informed SEL specialist were in the budget and are in the budget for next year.
Dr. Brabrand, this is Brett. I asked a question in the chat, but I'll ask you as well. So we were told that 6th grade promotion ceremonies cannot be considered a graduation, and that we have to follow the 100-person maximum guideline. Is that the information that you have been given as well? Okay, the nugget here is
is the promotion. What I have in front of me is that the promotion award ceremonies, if they're held in sports or entertainment venues like stadiums or auditoriums, may have the capacity of up to 1,000 or 50% of the occupancy certificate. That's what I have.
And when they say auditorium, do they mean it has to be like, can it just be the school auditorium?
Right. It could be a school auditorium. That's correct.
Okay, good. Thank you.
We shared much of this with principals just in the last couple of weeks, and follow up if there's any concerns at your school. But we have shared out this information with our principals as well. And again, it's a lot to take in right now. We're doing SOL testing. We finished up the 4 days of in-person opportunities, which again was a lot of work. And now we're going to be actually sharing soon about the opportunity for vaccination. So we've had a lot to do in a very short period of time. So thanks for hanging in there with us. And again, the outside promotion is up to 50% of the lowest occupancy load on the certificate of occupancy. If you're not in an outside venue, there's a formula for the state to calculate what that outside load is based on the square footage of the area, or like if you were in a field. And again, principals have all that detail as well. And I'm not the engineer to calculate it, but we have given them a calculation. Now remember, some people have said, hey, not all schools have done promotion ceremonies. Some have. We've given this guidance to principals. It's not a mandate. It is a guideline for them to use as they work with you all. The graduations are a mandate to be in person, and we did give some choice there about whether it would be at Jiffy Lube, at their own school, or at one of the central sites. We are going to have some security work, Jenna, around controlling access and sheltering in place. Our security folks are working on that now. Some technology supports. Some of these tents will be going in the inside courtyards, others that are going to be in outside courtyards. They're looking at how they're set up, and we have outdoor cameras in many of our schools. So we're figuring it out. And thanks, Elaine, you're there. Thank you. See, Elaine, it's so great to have board superintendent partnership. You guys know the neurodiversity specialist and the trauma-informed SEL. I knew we had just shared that yesterday, and both of those are in the budget. So a lot of good news. Let me see if there's any other questions in the 10 minutes before your meeting begins. And I'm just grateful for all your support. It's been a heck of a 12 months. But, I feel a lot better now than I did 12 months ago. And I have to tell you, in the hardest times and some of the most darkest moments, I've really appreciated the support of the PTA and the county PTA in particular. You've been wonderful, and you've given me grace and our staff grace as well. And I appreciate it. So let me see if there are any other questions. The mask off. Oh my goodness. You guys are just wanting to make this a fun night. We have heard no information. I know some things are going on around the country that are being decided by state officials, but we are following health guidance. There is no health guidance at this time about removing masks for classrooms or in our schools. I do know there's some interest about mask wearing during recess, and we're going to continue to work with the health department, but they still feel very strongly about that, especially for our younger kids who, even at recess, don't really social distance very well. So let me see if there's other questions, and I'll pause.
Yeah, can I just follow up on that real quick? I was just wondering if that is linked to the vaccination rates. Is that something where we could, is that something where?
Yeah,
we,
yeah.
Is that linked?
No, you're bringing up something that we've just gotten a lot of this information in the process, but with the health department. But I think one of the things I hear you all saying is the more that we can tie the vaccination campaign with the lifting of additional restrictions, not just for the public, but even for our schools, that would be welcome news for families and parents, as long as, again, it's following health guidance. But to tie it to vaccination is certainly something we can share with Dr. Gloria and the team over there, as well as VDH.
I was just wondering, because I kind of feel like I haven't heard much about vaccination directly from FCPS. Like, there's much guidance on washing hands and wearing masks and all that, but I haven't heard any,
right.
Hasn't been any advocacy. So I was wondering if that's coming.
Well, to be honest on that, I mean, my most honest answer is when we had the vaccination availability for folks that we pushed it hard, certainly for our staff in January. 16-year-olds just got on maybe 2 weeks ago. So we're just in a place, and now just in a few weeks, it's dropping, and maybe in days dropping to 12. So we're going to put the push out now that the vaccination is coming down in age. And again, if it drops to 2 before September, you will hear from us. As far as the vaccine being a requirement, these are issues that are really going to be made at the state level. I don't have local
I understand
authority.
that. I understand that the requirement is not something we can even discuss. I'm more wondering about positive advocacy to get people to do it, because I feel like, as I understand, the numbers say that Fairfax County is even below average of Virginia in vaccinations. So I really hope.
Yeah, we can look at that. I think we're doing pretty good. And actually, Friday's Richmond Times-Dispatch said that the UVA folks that have been modeling COVID since the pandemic began, they predict that herd immunity will take place in Northern Virginia, I think first in the Commonwealth, and it will happen by the end of the summer. So that's wonderful news, and we need to push. We need to really push that news out.
What percentage is herd immunity after in their standard?
Oh my goodness. I guess I need to bring them to the next meeting. I don't know what that number is. I was just
curious. I heard different numbers in different scenarios. Thank you very much. I appreciate all your patience. I appreciate it very much.
No, you're welcome. I see, Michelle, we're all earning our paychecks. So wait, never mind. Hey, listen, we all do this because we love it. And I'm the only one probably being paid here right now to be here. And the rest of you are all volunteering. And I know many of our board members are on tonight, and for the little amount that they receive, I'm sure they feel it's a volunteer job as well. So thank you all. It was an honor to be here. I hope you have a wonderful evening. Happy Cinco de Mayo. Para todas nuestras familias. And listen, we'll be back in touch really soon. And just thanks for all you all are doing.
Thank you, Dr. Brabrand. We appreciate your time tonight, and you always make time for PTA. So thank you very much.
Well, that's never going to change. So you just let me know when you need me next. I'll be there.
Thank you.
All right. Good night.
Good night. So before we move on to our next distinguished guest, I think we had some surprise distinguished guests. Larry, can you turn your microphone on and introduce our school board members that have made themselves available tonight?
Yes, I believe there are 3 here. I think we have Elaine Tholen on, and we have Karen Keys-Gamara, and last but certainly not least, we have Mr. Carl Frisch is on. Did I miss anybody?
Do you guys want to say hi really quick? Look, Elaine's ready. She's got her mic off.
Let's all say it at once.
Everybody
all do it at the same time.
Right.
Thank you for having us. This is a great invitation to just catch up with everything that you guys are concerned about. And, You know, I've really enjoyed working with my PTA leaders in Dreamsville this year. We've had periodic meetings, and I can't thank everyone enough for everything you've been doing this school year. And thank you so much, as Dr. Brabrand said, for working so hard on teacher appreciation. I just mentioned that in a newsletter I'm putting together today. So cannot thank you enough for all of that work. And I'm going to be around till about 7:30, and then I have to duck off to another meeting. So thank you for having me.
Thank you. Karen, would you like to
Karen.
say a few words?
Sure, I was hoping Elaine would like pick somebody and not make it hard. No, it's really great to be here. It's been so much harder to connect with people, I think, this year. And so gatherings like this feel very, very special. And I know the support, the level of support we have received from you guys is just invaluable. So thank you so much. It's been a really tough year. Nobody, it's sort of like, when you have a kid, you read that book and it means absolutely nothing once they're born. So you don't exactly have the directions, but it's been a pleasure working with everyone and working with my colleagues. And thanks so much for having me. Unlike Elaine, I'm signing off of school board stuff. I need to run to Costco so that my family has something to eat. But take care, everybody. Great to see you. And next is Carl.
I think it sounds like I'm going to Karen's for dinner. Costco tonight? I'll echo what Karen and Elaine said about how grateful we are. I've heard from many teachers over the last few weeks how appreciative they are for all that the PTAs have been doing for them. And as I've done school visits, it's been great to see all that's being done too. I was at Shreveport Elementary School recently, and Principal DeSmider was excited that they were going to be having a cookout for staff, thanks to some space that was provided behind the school, thanks to the PTA. So it's that kind of thinking and teamwork that is really making this bearable. So thank you for all you're doing. I'll be around for a little bit longer, and then I have to take off as well.
Thank you, everyone. We always appreciate surprise visitors. So I am sure that many of you have probably heard an FCPS employee at some point mutter, "Every child by name and by need." And as we look at the events of this past year, they have really uncovered, really shown a spotlight on some of the inequities that exist within our school system. So I am really excited to introduce our new-ish Chief Equity Officer, Dr. Lisa Williams. And she's not met most of you, so you should turn your cameras on so she can see your lovely faces. So Dr. Williams, the floor is yours.
So thank you so much for having me this evening. It is a pleasure to be with you. And, it's an honor to actually be able to talk a little bit about what I think about certain things and certainly create some space for questions and answers. Welcome to the school board members who are on. It's good to see you 2 nights in a row. And so what I'll try to do to sort of begin the conversation is start with some of the points that I received in email in the invite. Is that fair? And so some of the questions that were lifted were things like, what do you think about eliminating bias and prejudice in FCPS programs and student discipline? And so I'd start with, so you all are just going to swing for the fences. Okay, so let's just talk about it. I think that in many ways, we are presented with a moment that is not atypical from what school districts across the country are presented with, right? Which is dealing with the challenge of a changing demographic of students with a relatively stable staff. I mean, right now in this COVID moment, we are seeing probably more fluctuations in the workforce than we have in years prior. But in 2012, I want to say, I think 2012 or 2014, that was the first year that the majority of public school students were of color, right? So that was the year where that demographic shift happened nationally, right? In ways that we are predicting the workforce will happen in the same way and by 2050. So in many ways, schools are the front lines in answering the question of what does it mean to create a pluralistic democracy where there are spaces and places for all of our populace when we consider the reality of what our history has been, right? And so when you ask that question, then all of the questions that you all have asked, you know, for me to speak to, they come into question. Because in many ways, bias, disproportionality in suspensions and other aspects of punitive discipline tell us that there is work to do around creating space and place for every student. And I know that the euphemism we use here in Fairfax is, you know, thinking about every student by name and by need. And I don't mean to undervalue that, but I want to actually give it some more dimension, right? Because by addressing every student by name and by need is also to deal with identity. What does it mean? What does gender mean in a society that doesn't treat all forms of gender expression equally? What does it mean in a society to meet every student by name and by need when we don't treat all racial groups equally? What does it mean to meet the needs of all students by name and by need when we have differentials by class, right? These are all of the provocative questions that exist underneath the questions that you ask. And so I know that in my experience that it's really important to raise the specter on the fact that outside of our platitudes and maybe even our ideals that would say that we want to treat all students the same, we want all students to have equal access and opportunity, that can't exist but for our going through the hard work of dealing with the reality that all students are not treated the same. All students do not have the same opportunities. And the same could be said for staff as well, right? And that isn't a question of personal failings, and that isn't a question of good folks or bad folks or well-intended folks. That these are not the questions that I would invite us to contemplate. I would invite us into a space that is harder, I would submit, to navigate, and that is to deal forthrightly with a history that has positioned us in this moment to deal with these issues with a courage that is summoned to adequately answer these questions if we want a pluralistically and fully engaged democracy. And so, you know, it is interesting also to be able to look to the world outside of schools and see different things that tell us that there's work to be done. But the challenge for us is to look within schools, right? To recognize that disparities in discipline, disparities in access to programs, disparities in achievement, they are all corollaries that would tell us that we have work to do, very much in the same vein that maybe we see data around policing that suggests there's work to be done, or data around housing, right? Or we could even get more specific and talk about the impacts of the pandemic, right? And the ways in which women have been disproportionately impacted, the ways in which different groups of folks are dealing with housing insecurities, or just the way that a pandemic, right, that had, interestingly, a universal impact still had a disproportionate impact. What does that mean, right? And moreover, what is our responsibility? So I offer those opening comments to sort of raise the issue of the types of things that we have to raise issues about as a division, as parents, as teachers, as students, as people who have a vested interest in the viability of the district, right? Which actually has significant connections with the viability of the municipality, right? Which then connects to the viability of the state and largely the viability of the country, right? This is work that I would submit from my perspective, and clearly my perspective is biased because this is the work that I do. I would suggest that this work calls us all in, right? Around what are the things that we need to be doing to make sure that it is truly the case that every student, by name and by need, has a place, has a space, has an opportunity. And so that's like the high level way that I fashion the work of the CEO. And as I learn more about the division, Certainly the conversations become more specific, the strategies become more pointed, but that is my entry point. So I feel like I said a lot. And so I actually kind of want to pause, Kara, if it's okay, and invite any questions about what I've shared so far.
Please do, you guys. Go ahead, unmute your mics, ask questions, put it in the chat, whatever you'd like. I think everybody's just processing what you said.
That's fine.
Sure.
I have a question, and I don't know if you're the correct person, but I'm wondering for this year's current group of second graders, since they did not have the COGAT and looking towards the AAP process for next year, will it be offered to that group of third graders? Because I am imagining that there would be a lot of families in FCPS who would be unable to afford private testing. And, you know, going off of only the Naglieri, not having the opportunity to do the COGAT, it almost feels like we're saying to them, if you want to get further testing, you got to go pay for it, and it's not cheap. And is there going to be an opportunity for the third grade students next year, whether the parents can say, yeah, put us in, we'd like the test, or put it across the board, especially for schools that have large Title I populations, to give those kids a fair shot as well, because I can imagine a lot of parents cannot afford to do the private testing.
So thank you for asking that question. And I'm going to answer it from the equity perspective, recognizing that my partner in this work, Dr. Presidio, is not here. But I'm going to go ahead and channel my inner Dr. Presidio. So one of the things that is going to be really important for us is that we hold a space for learning, right? Because one of the things that we know for sure is that this pandemic has had disproportionate impact on people who have financial vulnerabilities. So that has to mean something to us, Ms. Anderson. And that's the question that you're raising, right? If how students get identified in part has some financial burden that we have historically expected families to manage or offset, then all of that has to come into question. And this actually relates to one of the pieces that I raised on yesterday in the board presentation about the return to school program, right? Part of, certainly equity work is about thinking about the needs of students across the board. And I think sometimes people miss that, right? That this is not about choosing one group over another, right? But it is also about understanding that even as we look at all needs are not weighted in the same way. So the consequence of our not understanding the financial circumstances of a person who's lost a job, is now housing insecure, is struggling to put food on the table, is not the same as someone who's lost a job, but are not dealing with those other pieces, right? Both need attention, they need different attention. And so a part of our work will be to collect that data, understand the extent of impact across our population, and be strategic in making those decisions so that we are indeed speaking to students by name and by need, right? It is my hope that we are collecting information so that we can be like surgeons, right? We can use a scalpel in making those strategic decisions as opposed to the hammer that would suggest that all students, all families should be sort of targeted and supported in a given way, because there are so many unknowns, right? There are knowns and that, but there are unknowns in terms of what it's going to mean for FCPS as people return back. So, you know, one of the challenges that I know people are having right now, and I'm not saying that like this is not a challenge for me as well, is this ambiguity of not knowing, right? But that is the reality. We have to hold space for as our students return, as our families return, and they don't return, there is a learning space for us. So the questions that you are lifting are things that we're going to have to be on the lookout for. So as they show up, we can be responsive in that moment. And so that would certainly be the counsel that I would offer as those situations emerge. But again, so much of this is going to be a wait and see to figure out what the impact has been for our community and then respond accordingly.
There are some just a couple of chat questions in here from the bottom up. Very broad question. What can PTA do to support your work?
Well, that's a softball. I'll take that. You know, so this is, I love that question because really it is so profound in its forthrightness. I think what is critically important for this division, and I am certainly speaking centering the work of the CEO, we need those voices. We need those perspectives. We need those stories. It is very easy for me to use my experience, which is at this point been a long time in education, to sort of understand some things, right? And that's typically what we do. We get together, a room full of people who have expertise in these very specific ways, right? And we start talking about solution finding. And one of the things that, you know, doing equity work for as long as I've done it has taught me is that it's critically important that the people who you seek to serve, their voices and experiences are populating your consciousness. Their voices and experiences are populating your consciousness, because what I know really well is my lived experience. I know that really well. What I don't know as well is the lived experience of all of the people who I am seeking to serve, that I would serve better if I was availed of them. And parents know best their children. You know, what you don't know about me is that I'm the mom of a 4 and a almost 5-year-old. So y'all know I'm like having all kinds of moments about the fact that he's about to be in big people school, right? So they're like, I'm a practitioner and I'm a parent and I'm trying to figure it all out. But one of the things that has been interesting, even in my personal experience with my son in preschool, is the difference between the things that teachers report and the things that we know about what he knows and is able to do at home, right? Because there's a different context for demonstrating knowing at home than there is at school. And part of the work, particularly for kids who are, you know, new to the country, particularly for kids for whom English isn't the first language, particularly for kids who have social, I mean, all of the diversity groups, right? Like the reality is how those students will show knowing could be very different than what the dominant norms and standards and expectations are, right? And so that we have access to those stories to help influence and inform how we make the learning experience pluralistic, where there are more ways to be right, where there are more ways to be brilliant, where there are more ways to show learning. That makes the teaching and learning and engagement offerings elastic. And in so many ways, that's how I kind of see equity work in my brain. Like it's just an elastic space that keeps stretching to accommodate difference as it shows itself. So the short answer to the very poignant question from my perspective is that you have to like keep giving us those stories and pushing us to have those stories make meaning in terms of how we deliver services.
Charles, I don't want to speak for you, please.
Yeah, oh, sure, why not? Yeah, Charles Havasu here. Yeah, I think, you know, as we're talking about equity and ensuring every kid gets, you know, the opportunities they need, what's your thoughts on, you know, ensuring that we simultaneously maintain, you know, education and learning standards so that, you know, we're not lowering the bar, you know, for everyone, but we're trying to raise the bar for everyone instead, you know, get, you know, rising tide lifting all ships and not lowering the tide, so to speak. Over.
Yeah. Thank you. You know what? Thank you for asking that question. And I'm glad it just came up and out, right? Because that's typically the thing that people are often thinking about. And I think for the division, and again, I'm sort of speaking as still what I would claim to be a newbie. I don't know to the extent that this is true here, but I know that in many places that I've been, that has been a struggle, right? And what I want to submit is that it depends on what we believe about children, right? Because if we believe that all children are capable of doing great things, then what that causes us to do is look at what we are doing when that's not happening. If we have questions about that, what we do is lower the standards to conform to a belief that we're not altogether sure of is true. Now, I can talk about this personally because in case this is unknown to the group, I am a Black woman. I have just outed myself in case there was any unclarity around that, right? And so I bring that up to say that, you know, often when we're talking about achievement challenges and disparities in access, we'll see Black children in those spaces. But what we often miss is, and again, I'm just talking about Black children, but we could be talking about any group of kids that oftentimes are the subject of conversations when we have these discussions. So I just want you to hold that space. What we miss when we talk about that underperformance is, let's just go to a HBCU for a second. If you've ever gone to a graduation at a HBCU, you will notice that everybody there graduating is Black. If you looked into the data around where members of people who graduate from HBCUs go, they go off and do great things in the world. They get PhDs, they get all. So that one piece of data alone is the evidence that when given the education that is responsive to learning needs, people rise. That's what I fundamentally believe. I believe that about students with disabilities. I believe that about students for whom English isn't the first language. I believe that for immigrant students, I believe that the fundamental question that we've got to figure out is, how do we give different groups of students the education that they need to rise? Because when we do it, we see what they can do. So your question, I think, resides not in, you know, what is possible for children, but what work are we willing to do to figure out what it looks like to provide the educational experiences that allow them to thrive? And that's a hard question.
Great, well said though. Good answer, thanks.
So I'm bringing a couple more here. Sorry about this. Kind of another broad question. So if the FCPS is truly ready to tackle more than every child by just name and by need, what do you believe are some of the necessary first steps for that really to happen?
Yeah, so one of the things that I think is really important in doing this work in FCPS and in places all over is that you can't solve problems with the same consciousness that created the problem, right? And so, you know, it is easy to say by name and by need. It is harder to appreciate what it is that we are doing every day that underserved students. And so, you know, and you all are just meeting me, so I'm a slow walk this relationship. But one of the things that you know, equity work does on purpose is it disturbs the peace. Because if we knew that what we were doing every day was insufficient, we would probably do something different. So the first thing that has to happen is some turbulence. So if folk read turbulence as problem, then we're going to have to work through all of that, because we have to disturb the intellectual piece, the ideological piece that our hard work is sufficient, right? Our hard work is necessary, but our ability to interrogate that hard work through the lens of impact is important. And, you know, we are deeply connected to the work that we do. I'm a practitioner of nearly 20 years, right? And so the work that I do is personal. It is professional, but it's personal. So when someone raises the specter that this hard work that I do every day, there might be more to it that I need to consider, that's hard for me to go through. But what I would submit is it's not possible. And this is actually me paraphrasing Albert Einstein. It is me paraphrasing Audre Lorde, that you really have to disturb this idea that the way that we are operating, not making any judgments about intentions, love of children, like none of those things are actually what I would question. What I would actually challenge us to do is to interrogate our intentions against the impact. And if the impacts are not where we would want them for children, then we've got to lean into the hard work of what does it look like to put us on a pathway to get us there. So those are my thoughts.
Thank you. Jenna, since I see your face, please share your question.
Thanks. In terms of how we make decisions as PTA leaders within our own local PTAs, just wondering from a framework, maybe there's a very obvious answer to this question, but this is things that we're grappling with. Let's say there's a couple of factors for and against the decision. Sorry?
So is she digitized and broken up to everybody?
Yeah.
Okay. Jenna, we can't hear you. You got a bad connection.
There's a couple of factors for and against the decision.
I'm a mute her, even though she doesn't know it's very rude. But hey, Jenna, you're breaking up, so I'm going to read your question from the notes here. My question relates to PTA leaders are making decisions at their school groups. If there are factors on two sides of a decision, and equity factors are one of them, should the equity factors override the other factors?
Oh, this is interesting. Right. So one of the things I would have us think about, and this is the counsel that I would offer to the division, these issues are often characterized as either or. And I would say the work is both and. Right. And often, like even right now, so we're talking about returning to school and we're thinking about the families that are going to have the hardest time recovering to come back. That doesn't mean that we don't create time and space to think about families who've not necessarily been negative impacted, but have found other things, have found that having less of a commute has worked, have found that some online options have worked, have found, that their kids thrive in different, that is not to say, so I actually push against the either we do this or we do that paradigm. I push against the scarcity paradigm altogether, because a scarcity paradigm is rooted in for someone to win, someone's got to lose. And when we set it up in that way, then the collectivist mentality that is really needed to move this work forward, it falls by the wayside. What I do offer is that we have to think strategically about how we ultimately engage in a way that has a collective vision that ultimately allows us to live outside of our the rhetoric of by name and by need, but in a very practical, strategic way helps us to do that. So that's what I would say about that. I think, all kids, and let me just kind of take this question to a different end, right? And I was one of these kids, so I fully appreciate this. For students who are gifted that we send to the AAP centers, that we send to those places to get that specialized instruction, right? Part of what we've done in those spaces, and not necessarily in Fairfax, but in my experience, is students get to those places because they don't need adult support. And what I would submit is those kids absolutely need adult support, right? Because they can manage the curriculum as we position it. Actually, to me, suggests that we need to offer the curriculum in a different way. Because if we are teaching all kids in their zone of proximal development, even gifted kids, as we would call them, have things to learn, right? So this question of meeting needs is not for one group, it is a continuous contemplation. And really solid equity work will have to reckon with that. So thank you for that question.
I'm going to piggyback on that question and give you a specific situation that a PTA is dealing with. They want to do their last PTA meeting of the year. We've been doing virtual since last March. And the school's equity group feels strongly that it needs to be virtual for the families that have concerns, but there's a significant portion of the population that wants to do it in person. Mm-hmm. So
do both.
Do both. I knew that was going to be your answer. Do both.
Because it's real, right? Those people who have those trepidations about being around folks, oftentimes it has come from someplace. And I'm kind of being slow and methodical for a reason, right? Some of the stories, some of the hardships, some of the loss that some people have experienced, that those of us who are not in that space, that we've not had to deal with that, we need to actually count ourselves lucky. right? So I don't assume that my logic or reasoning is stronger than anybody else's. That's the other thing, right? So if people are making decisions, I assume that it is rooted in some rationality that mine is as well, right? So how do we do that? We sort of step away from, you know, sort of questioning whose experience is real. It's the same conversation that gets us caught up around policing, right? It is real that if I live in a neighborhood that has been targeted or characterized or under-resourced in a certain way, then my community could be treated differently than a community that, and both are true. And I think that it is in our desire to find these universal truths, right? That sometimes we miss that we're in a society that for no fault of our own, like we didn't create this, but it is our inheritance, right? It is the work that is undone. It is actually the beauty of what we can become, to actually be what we want to be. But before you can be that, we have to deal with the reality of what is. So that would be my, do both, Karen, have both. Double food.
Thank you. Do you have any closing remarks before we let you go for the evening?
No. I do appreciate the opportunity to speak and certainly to speak freely about the work and encourage anytime that, you know, you would want me to come back, or there is an opportunity for feedback in the impending equity action plan. So certainly I invite the thoughts of this group in the formation of that document, but it's just been a pleasure to be able to share with you.
Thank you so much. We are so excited to have you as part of the FCPS team. We really appreciate your presence here tonight. I know I could just listen to you for hours. That was the most captivated I've been in a meeting. So thank you very much for your time tonight. We appreciate you.
All right. Have a good evening, everyone.
Bye. Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Okay, party friends. It is 7:28, and I am going to go ahead and officially call the meeting to order. So for those of you who have no idea who I am, my name is Kara Jenkins, and I am delighted to serve as your Fairfax County Council PTA president. Welcome to our final general membership meeting of the year. I am so excited because this year has been like super long, but we're in the home stretch. We're almost there. So I wanted to start off this meeting simply by saying thank you. This has been the craziest year. None of us have ever experienced anything like this in recent history. And during this just crazy, insane time, each and every one of you has served your community. You've stood up in a time where everybody's struggling, and you put yourself out there and you made your small pocket of the world a better place. So thank you. If I could give you all $1 million, I would. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So your hard work and your dedication, it does not go unnoticed, even though I'm sure many of you heard nothing but complaints this year. And if that's the case, I assure you, you are not alone. So without further ado, I'd like to get the business portion of the meeting started. So a great way to set the tone of your PTA meetings is to remind people, why are we here? Why are we here tonight? And this can be helpful if your meetings tend to get a little exciting in maybe not a good way, to kind of set the tone, like we're here for children. So in the same way that I would recommend you start your PTA meetings that way, I'd like to do the same tonight. The magic in the mission moment. So PTA's mission is to make every child's potential a reality by engaging and empowering families and communities to advocate for all children. And after we remind ourselves of our mission, it's important to also think how we get there. How do we achieve our mission? Are we making a ton of enemies? That's probably not the way to do it. So as we are planning our work out and doing our work to achieve the mission, we need to make sure that we're incorporating National PTA's core values. And those core values are collaboration, commitment, diversity, respect, and accountability. All right, friends, thank you for bearing with me as I did my little pep talk, rah-rah, PTA yay moment. What I'd like to do now is go ahead and start getting into our reports. I'm going to start off by kind of just sharing with you in the same way that this year has been really hard for you. And some of you found yourself the president maybe like by accident, like the day before school started. It was like, hey, congratulations, you're president now. We too at FCCPTA experienced a lot of those similar challenges. Some of you may have noticed that we have a new vice president of outreach. So I would like to introduce him and let him say hello and kind of share what he's going to do with us. So Larry Mills, please go ahead and pop in and say hi.
Hello, everyone. My name is Larry Mills, as Kara mentioned. Thank you so much. Yes, I am the new VP of Outreach. So what does that really mean? That, as far as I can tell, that means that I am your bridge to for a lot of things PTA. In particular, most recently, there's been a lot of schools that are doing their elections right now. It's coming up in a lot of places. And sometimes those are very smooth. Sometimes they're contentious. Sometimes there's a question on how things should go. I'm your point of contact for that. If you're having an issue with other officers and you need some mitigation in those regards, I'm your contact for that. If you're having issues with your administration, with other parents, with each other, of yourself, I'm your person for that. So long story short is I'm here to try and help as best as I can. That makes a presumption that I have the answers, which I don't necessarily. I will tell you I'm very good at making it sound like I have the answers, but I don't necessarily have them. But if I don't have them, I do have all the people that you see on the call today and some that aren't showing their faces have the answers. And collectively, we can come up with that. So little personal note, I am a parent. I have 4 kids. I have 2 in elementary, 1 in middle school at Liberty, and 1 at Centerville High School. So I personally touch all 3 levels as well. So just like you, I'm a parent trying to make a little difference here. So by all means, let me know, and I'll make sure you have my email address in the chat box.
Thank you, Larry. I know quite a few of you have reached out to me for assistance, and 99% of the time I'm handing it off to Larry. And it's not that I don't want to help, it's that this is his job, and frankly, he's better at it than I am. So let's let him do the work. So Larry was our VP of programs. And when he accepted the VP of outreach position, then we needed to find a VP of programs. I'm not going to make Jenna get on and say hello because she's having computer issues, but Jenna White spoke earlier. Some of you may recognize her as a master presenter. She goes all around the county and does presentations on ACEs and trauma-informed networks. Great asset, great resource for a PTA meeting if you're looking for an activity or a program. So Jenna has taken up and increased her workload by also now serving as our VP of programs. Okay, so now that we have met Larry, we are going to talk summer training, because as we are preparing for next school year, some of you may be returning to a leadership position, or maybe a new leadership position, or maybe you are desperately recruiting your replacement. In any of those cases, training is key. So if you would, please join me in welcoming our VP of Training, Hamid.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Kara, for the introduction. Before I get into the training session, I just want to say something about our board. And I just want to say that this whole year has been a roller coaster ride for most of us. And it's been very challenging. And I just want to say I'm blessed to be part of this team who has faced all the challenges and came on top of it. So Kara, your hard work and all the teammates, I just want to say thank you. You all did a wonderful job this year. So with that, I just want to go ahead and say that for the training, the last year we also did a virtual training partnership with the state, and this year also our wonderful state representative, VP of Training, Michelle, is with us. Michelle, if you can say hi. And with her blessings, I was able to also secure same thing. We're going to do a partnership with state because we will be doing virtual training this year as well. I've been on her committee, and we've been meeting, and we're finalizing our schedule by this Monday, and you will hopefully get it by middle or end of next week. You will get all the classes and all the training sessions that are coming up. especially I'll just give you an overview of that. It's going to be starting at the last week of May and going to June, July, August. So we spread it out so that it's not a burden on like we did last year. We had it back to back and some people were not able to join on every weekend. So it's going to be a weekday and a weekend session. And the topics that you might be interested in, which we are bringing in upfront in May and early June, is like, how to run your election virtually, those kind of things. And if you don't find officers, how to find them, things like that. Those training sessions will happen early. And I hope I'm not stealing Michelle's thunder, but we're working as a team, and we're going to have all that schedule ready for you, hopefully by the end of next week. Also, with the lot of feedback that we got last year, Michelle was able to secure us a separate Virginia State training page. Yay. So we have that coming up where you will see all the videos anytime in the entire year. If you have questions regarding what to do as a treasurer, what to do as a president, stuff, all those videos will be available at virginia.org/training page. And that's, we're still modifying it. We're still bringing up, putting a lot of videos on it, but it will be up and running soon. And that's my report for now. I know that I've heard from a lot of you about the pain points that you guys have in your PTAs, and those are the specific issues and trainings that we're bringing in this year. So make sure you check out the schedule and please sign up. And if you cannot make up, at least sign up so that you can get the recording of those videos so you can see what's going on there. And at this point, I can take any questions if you have. All right. I think I did my job good, right?
You did a good job. Thank you. Okay, so given that Hamid just shared that we're going to be relying heavily on Virginia PTA, and we will be partnering with them. You will see some of our faces doing some of these training sessions. But traditionally, if you've been in Fairfax County for a while, we have done our own training in person in June. So we decided to not do that, obviously, or to not do our own training in June. But one of the things that we are going to be doing this year is having a monthly informal training session via a round table. We've had a couple of those round tables this year, and they seem to be helpful. And the idea is that they would be relevant to what's going on right now. So our first roundtable will be July, I think it's July 8th. We're finalizing it, but it's all about how to do your summer financial audit. Because on July 1st, the new treasurer takes over, or even if it's not a new treasurer, you still have to undergo the financial review each year. So we have a feeling we're going to have lots of questions about it. So why not just get it started or try to get ahead of the curve? So that will be kind of our idea this year, is that as we progress through the year, you'll be seeing training for maybe things that are happening right now, like how do I pay my dues, or how do I, next fall or next spring will be, how do we do a nominations committee, things like that. So look forward to those kind of informal training opportunities via our monthly roundtables.
And Kara, just to add to that, that way we learn from each other, right? This is all about learning experience. So roundtables are a very great idea of having to learn from each other, see which ideas work from each PTAs, and that can work for others as well. So please join us on those.
Yeah, and it's great to connect with other local leaders as well. You might make some friends. Okay, so training. Next up is our treasurer. So before I ask Jamie to speak, I just want to do a gentle reminder that every general membership meeting, your treasurer should be providing a report of their financials, what's going on with the PTA. It's part of that accountability and transparency. I'm hearing rumors that it's not always happening. So just kind of wanted to throw that out there. Please have your treasurers providing a report. If they are not coming to the meeting, they should still submit a report, and someone else should give the report on their behalf, usually the president. Okay, so now that I've spoken my soapbox, please welcome Jamie Yarusi for our treasurer's report.
Good evening, everyone. So our beginning balance for the month was $27,755.56. We had 2 deposits of dues that were minor, and you can see here all of our expenses for the month. We just had 3, so not much financial activity. Our ending balance as of 4:30 was $27,175.56. One reminder for everybody, dues are due on June 1st. If you have not paid dues for the year yet, there was a set that was due in December. If you have not paid those, you would pay for all your members now. If you did pay those in December, you would only pay in June for any members that have joined since the first time that you paid dues to Fairfax County Council PTA. Otherwise, that is my full report, and I look forward to seeing all of you at the Roundtable Treasurer event in July.
Does anyone have any questions about our treasurer report or our financials? Okay. The other part of my soapbox is that if a general member were to ask a question, we should probably answer them. Okay. All right, so we are going to move on. Thanks, Jamie. Let's take a quick review of our February meeting minutes. These were sent out and they were available ahead of tonight's meeting. So as much as you may enjoy story time and the sound of my voice, I am choosing to not read them aloud to you tonight. So I know everyone read them in advance. Does anyone have any corrections to the minutes? Feel like
I move they be approved as provided as Fog Gaylord Lake Braddock.
Thank you. Would anyone like to second? Larry seconds. Larry Mills seconds. Okay, all those in favor of approving the minutes say aye.
Aye.
Or raise a hand, give me a thumbs up. Okay,
Aye.
I'm seeing lots of ayes and lots of smiles and lots of thumbs. All those opposed say no or give me thumbs down. All right, the ayes have it. The minutes are approved. Thank you for not making me do story time. Okay, so we're going to move on to, let's see, I got to check my agenda. Okay, so thank you all for your assistance in approving the minutes. As you read through the meeting minutes ahead of tonight's meeting, as I'm sure you all did, hopefully you did not see any spelling errors. But if you did, maybe we need to have our spelling bee chair provide some quick lessons. Please allow me to introduce our spelling bee chair, Miss Eliza, for an update and possible spelling quiz. Eliza?
Hello, everyone. No spelling quiz, thank God. I just want to give a quick bee report about how we finished up for the year and also give a promo for next year. And hopefully at some point during my not too long chat, Michelle will flash up this wonderful little piece of paper that everyone can there it is. Everyone can download who's interested in coming on to the spelling bee for this coming year. So anyway, let's get started. Like it was for everything else this year has been a year like no other for the County Spelling Bee program. For example, last year we had a record 85 elementary and middle schools signed up for the bee. That was last year, 2019 to 2020. This year we had 41. We all know why. Budget, volunteers exhausted, staff exhausted. I'm so glad for the people we had. The bee continued. So even though we had only 41 schools, we still had lots of kids in Fairfax County who had a lot of fun playing the bee game and testing their word power. And this was all thanks, huge thanks to the efforts of extraordinary teachers and volunteers who made this program possible at their schools while their hair was going absolutely crazy. They made this happen, and I'm just incredibly grateful for that. Some schools held their spelling bees via Zoom. Other ones used the online system that Scripps had developed to help schools present their bees virtually. It was a learning curve for all of us, including me, but we made it. And I'm proud to say that in mid-March, FCCPTA hosted the first ever, I hope last, first ever Zoom Fairfax County Spelling Bee for all of our school bee champions. And before I announce the results, I want to give a huge shout out to Larry Mills, who used to be our VP of programs and saved my life during the spelling bee. He was a wonderful consult beforehand. He was the tech man during the county spelling bee to make sure we didn't have any strangers joining in who weren't supposed to be there. And I'm so grateful that he's continuing on as VP of Outreach. And the second shout out is, of course, to our County B winner. Her name is Akshita Balaji. She's 13 years old. She's amazing. She's an 8th grader from Carson Middle School. She was our 2019 Fairfax County Spelling Bee champion, and she is now the 2021 Fairfax County Spelling Bee champion. And her next step is the National Spelling Bee. And I would bet that we will see her in the finals. I'm hoping so, but she really is superior. And the finals of the National Spelling Bee will be on July 8th, courtesy of our good friends at ESPN. They actually start in mid-June, working virtually, and I will be going over to the Balaji's house to act as a proctor while they start that initial process. But Akshita was incredibly calm, poised, professional. I've just never seen anyone sweat not one drop during the entire stressful moment. So I'm just incredibly proud of her and just amazed. So that is the end of this year, but of course there's next year, and next year for the Spelling Bee starts in the fall. So we've only got a few months to go. So I'm already looking ahead. So if you are part of an elementary or middle school and you're contemplating introducing or bringing back the Spelling Bee to your students, I suggest strongly that you do 2 things today. 2. 1, download the Spelling Bee flyer that you're looking at. It's in the document download folder that Michelle Leet has prepared. It has all of the relevant information about enrollment, the fee that you pay to Scripps, most importantly, when enrollment opens. And it's very important to note that from August to mid-October, you get the low price of $175. That is the lowest price for enrollment you have. Enroll early. So that's item number 1. Second item is take down my email, spellingbeechair@fccpta.org. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer questions. I've been a bee organizer at the county level and at the elementary and middle school level for a long time. So I'm happy to help all of you and to bring you all in to give your kids some word fun in a different way. So that is that. And that's it from me. And thank you all very much.
Thanks, Eliza. Thanks for sharing the story of the winner too. It always is fun to see that. Okay,
I can
so
jump in real fast.
yeah.
She'll never say it, but, and I appreciate the congratulations, thanks, but Eliza does this whole thing. And everybody should recognize, I mean, from top to bottom, start to finish, she's got the whole thing dialed in, has connections for getting it done. So she's a definite asset to our community as a whole. So thank you again, Eliza.
Thanks, Larry. Okay, so in addition to worrying about our children's academics this past year, I know that the idea of keeping our kids' minds, spirits, and bodies healthy has also been on our mind. So please join me in welcoming our Health and Wellness Chair, Ms. Fabiola Green.
Hi, good evening.
Fabiola, you're frozen.
Fabiola is frozen. So let's bypass her for just a moment. Larry, can you reach out to her? Yep. Thank you. Okay, so, and Larry and I are both wearing green, which I just noticed. So dream team, right? All right, so while we are waiting for Fabiola to reconnect, you know, a question I hear a lot is why PTA over those other parent groups? And there are tons of reasons, but one of them, the biggest reasons for me is that when you join PTA, especially as a leader, you are not alone. You are automatically part of just this huge network, and this network includes support, training, and ideas. And part of that larger network is here with us tonight. Hamid, is Debbie here? I haven't seen her.
Yes, she's on.
Oh, okay. Well, Debbie, the floor is yours. Debbie is our NOVA District Assistant Director, Debbie Kilpatrick.
Debbie is going to try to unmute herself, hopefully.
Yeah, she's here.
Okay, there she goes.
Hey guys, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So Sorry, I'm just busy. We're trying to get ready for our annual meeting, and I wanted to be sure and make sure everyone knew they were invited to attend. And that's on May 16th from 2 to 4 in the afternoon, virtual. And we have a keynote speaker, which is Anna King, our National PTA President-elect, and she will be the president come June at the virtual National PTA Convention. And also we have some great door prizes, and we have some wonderful awardees that we'll be recognizing. Congressman Connolly will also be issuing a congressional record for all of our awardees. So we really do hope everybody can join us and celebrate all the great things that's happening to everybody, to all of our local units. They've done outstanding work during this pandemic, so we want to recognize them for sure. And I think that's pretty much.
Debbie, you want to mention the date and time?
I did. May 16th, 2 to 4. And registrations on our district website, as well as FCCPTA has been promoting it.
Yeah, and Fairfax County is one of the largest school systems that we have. And obviously we'll have a lot of awardees coming from this county. So please join and support your awardees on that day.
Yeah, thanks, Hamid. So thanks everybody for all the PTAs that participated. It was just outstanding. We had 26 entries, so for different awards, and lots of Volunteer of the Year nominees as well. So great job.
Thank you, Debbie. Was Fabiola able to make it back in?
He is back.
All right, Fabiola, the floor is yours.
I'm here. I don't know. It was probably the 4-year-old jumping in the screen that made everything freeze. So first of all, when I mentioned just really quick, when I mentioned our numbers earlier, and just in the chat, somebody said that we're better than everybody. I think everybody looks at different numbers. I'm not going to, the Virginia Department of Health says that we're fully vaccinated, a little lower than the rest of Virginia. I think we can do better. So my question is, what can we do? I don't have anything to share. I don't have any numbers or suggestions what to do. I just would like to suggest to all of us that we think, how can we support FCPS in what's to come? What can we do to ease parents' minds, children's minds? How can we share the positive aspect of all this? I don't want to engage in political anti-vaccination strategies. I think that would be the wrong spot for us to take. I think we should engage with FCPS and ask them, how can we support them? And see if that is, I don't know if that's even something we can do, but I know there are areas where people just can't really get to vaccines. So I really loved hearing that they're going to have clinics in schools. So I'm wondering if these clinics could maybe also be parents involved. Like, can parents come to schools to get their vaccines? Can we organize a drive for parents who don't have transportation to locations? I understand that a lot of people don't get the vaccines because they just can't get to them. So I'm hoping that as FCCPTA and as local PTAs, we can make an impact in helping people to not be scared and to get the vaccines if they want them. That's pretty much for me. So I want to engage with FCPS, and yes.
So Erin, looks like you have some information. Do you want to turn your mic on and share?
Sure. United Communities I don't know how far they span, but here in the West Potomac, Mount Vernon area, we actually invited them to come to one of our PTA events, and they gave vaccine information. They partner with Neighborhood Health, which was when we did it, that was a partnership that had started a week ago when they came to our program. And Neighborhood Health is a kind of a free clinic type program. And when United Communities came to our event, they were giving vaccine information and then also helping families or eligible adults register on the spot for their vaccine. So that night, I think we registered 8 to 10 adults for their vaccine. Neighborhood Health will provide transportation if it is needed. And aside from just registering folks, they gave so much information out, which was just as valuable, because at the time, some folks were not able to be registered, but when their time came to get registered, they had the information so that they could go on and register. And so I shared this information with the West Potomac Pyramid and the Mount Vernon Pyramid. And I saw another school did this same event with United Communities. So there are organizations like this out there that
maybe
we can share with, as PTAs, we can share with our families. Because my thought was, if I can get a lot of our families at my elementary school vaccinated, not only does that help our school, but that's going to help our community as well.
Exactly. Well said. Well said. And is that maybe something what is the general consensus on this? Sharing stuff like that on the best practices website, at Facebook page, just engaging the conversation, it's like, this is something we can, just have conversations with our principals and I feel like this is exactly, the community is the center around all this. Yes.
I can see if I can get more information. She just invited me to join some local team of, I don't really know, information. I don't know. I need to look more at this invitation, but it is sort of a collaboration of local organizations and leaders that do community type advocacy and stuff. So I'll look into that more and see how far outreaching some of this stuff is. But I know Neighborhood Health now is partnering in Arlington County as well.
All right, so if you know anyone, please share. Go ahead, Fabiola, sorry.
It was called Neighborhood Health?
That's the free clinic.
Okay.
That is doing the vaccinations, and they have several locations. Joe Biden came and visited the one in Arlington.
Okay, so that was, but they came to your PTA event.
No, they were working with United Communities.
Okay, United Communities came to your event. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And I can get you the information from, her name is Christy, I forget her last name.
Did you can what's?
Fabiola, also, there's a Fairfax County spokesperson who talks about vaccinations. She goes around to PTA meetings. I think Mount Vernon High School has done it. I've given the information to a couple of other PTAs as well. They will come to your PTA.
Why don't we share stuff like that on Facebook?
I will share it over there. Yeah.
Get the conversation started. I feel like we all have great ideas. This is such a wonderful connection of community, volunteers, everybody in for the good stuff. So sorry, I need to turn it off. Sorry.
So please, yes, let's take Fabiola's idea and let's post it on Facebook. Let's consolidate our resources so that we can push this information out. National PTA did recently do like a PTA post for vaccinations for the COVID vaccine. Fairfax County Council PTA shared that out. So if you go back to our Facebook, you can find it. We've shared it on our main page. So if National PTA put something out, you are free to share it. Yes, so go ahead, get the conversation started. I think Fabiola had a really interesting point earlier with Dr. Braybrand. Are we going to tie the ability to take masks off to vaccination rates? And if that's the case, I think a lot of people are going to be motivated.
Just have to be very careful in saying that, because he did not say that. He just said that would be hopeful, a light at the end of the tunnel. But I think if we kind of like dangle that in front of people, could be the carrot. We just have to be very careful, because this is not even, see, I understand it's not even his decision.
No, it's not.
Let's be careful with that message. I love the message. I wanted to hear it so bad. but we have to be careful.
All right. Okay, so we are going to move on. Now that we're done with all of our reports, we're going to transition into our new business portion of the meeting. So tonight, I am looking for 5 incredibly lucky volunteers to serve on the Fairfax County Council PTA Nominating Committee. Nominations, but Kara, it's May. Oh, don't you worry. Our Fairfax County Council PTA's elections are next May 2022. So you have an entire year to help us find our next amazing group of leaders. The idea is that these 5 members become part of our team. They are invited to any meetings. They become best friends with all the officers so that they can truly understand the work that we do. They're going to come to our meetings and pay attention to who else is in the meetings. I see some future FCCPTA leaders in our meeting tonight. So anyway, I know I said I wasn't going to do story time, but in fact I am. So snuggle up with your PJs and sip your hot cocoa while I read the classic and exciting tale of bylaws and the nominations committee. So from Fairfax County Council PTA bylaws, Article 4, Section 10, the members of a nominating committee for officers of a council PTA shall be elected by the voting body. That's you all. Article 6, Section 3 of our bylaws states that the nominating committee shall consist of 5 members who shall be elected by this council voting body at their regular general membership meeting at least 60 days prior to the election of officers. You guys are in good shape. We're like 365 days. We're good. No 2 members of the nominating committee shall be from the same local unit, and the committee shall elect its own chairman, chairperson, chairwoman. Okay, so story time's over. That wasn't really so bad. But what I'd really like to do is have 5 people volunteer to help us find our next leaders. And it can be anybody except for me as the president. So who wants to be on our nominating? Oh, Hamid, we have 1. Okay, so Hamid's going to be on our nominating committee. I need 4 more. Come on, guys. Oh, Mary, your hand is raised.
Yeah, I'm looking for hands here. I got a hand raised from Mary Gavin. Are you saying yes, Mary?
Yes, yay, Mary. Okay, Hamid at Govin.
Govin, sorry.
Govin.
Sorry.
So we have Mary, we have Hamid. I need 3 more people. Come on, guys. Oh, Amanda Campbell. Yay, Amanda Campbell. All right, we need 2 more. And if you're raising your hand and I don't see you, I can only see like 12 people at a time.
Yeah,
so
I'm watching them.
Okay, come on, guys.
Fabiola said she would do it.
I think Fabiola said, yeah.
Yay, Fabiola. We just need 1 more.
Well, give me a non-camera person. Come on, give me somebody. I'm looking. Oh, wait. Debbie Kilpatrick.
Yay! Okay, Brett, did you get those 5 names down by any chance? Okay, so we have to approve them as our nominating committee. So can someone make a motion to approve these 5 people?
So moved.
I move they be approved.
Okay.
Bob Gaylord, Lake Braddock.
Awesome. Larry, you seconded.
Yes.
Brett, can you read the 5 names out loud for me, please?
I sure can. We have Hamid Munir. Am I saying it right, Hamid?
It's Munir, but you
Munir, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's all good.
Mary Govin, Amanda Campbell, Fabiola Green, and Debbie Kilpatrick.
All those in favor, raise your hand, give me a thumbs up or say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, all those opposed, give me a thumbs down, a sad face, or say no. Larry, do you see any no's?
See, no nose, no sad faces either.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Jason looks kind of
Jason
grumpy.
looks a little morbid, but besides that.
All right, so it's approved. Yay, the ayes have it. We have 5 nominating committee members. Super excited. So if you could, can you, we know Hamid and we know Fabiola and we know Debbie. Mary and Amanda, can you make sure that Brett has your contact information? We're going to hook the 5 of you up together and we're going to allow you guys to choose whomever is going to be the chairperson. Okay, that is super exciting. All right. I thought I was going to have to pull teeth harder than that, so that's cool. Okay, so thank you, my rock stars. The other really, truly exciting piece is that FCCPTA actually has some open positions now. So if you are getting ready to want to take on more responsibility, or maybe your term is up and you're looking to help out, we do have some open positions, including but not limited to, we're going to need a membership chair, an ambassador's chair, a military families chair, and there's like at least 2 or 3 more positions. Look for us to post that out next week. We've had several people reach out and express interest in those specific positions, and we're really excited to bring you on board. But we have to have an open and fair democratic process. So we will be posting it and allowing people to apply. The idea would be we would hopefully appoint people before the summer so that you kind of have the summer to acclimate to the position and start full swing in the fall. All right, so now as we wrap up our school year and we wrap up our meeting, what better way to end things with awarding some very deserving seniors some scholarship money. So Karen Lee is our scholarship chair, but she was unable to present tonight, but Hamid is going to present on her behalf.
All right, let me share my screen. Oh, Larry, can you give me access? All right, let me know if you can see the slides. All right. Okay, first of all, I just want to say it was an amazing experience being part of this committee. And the more amazing part was to read those essays and see, even during this pandemic, what these kids have achieved and been doing and thinking outside of the box and coming up with ideas and participating in the community and all that stuff. It was really amazing. So I just want to thank all the students that have participated in this scholarship program. I congratulate you. It was not an easy decision to come up with 5 of them, but we had to do our job, so we came up with 5. But just wanted to say thank you to all the students. So the details were that for the 2021 year, FCCPTA offered about $500 scholarship awards. Again, we want to thank all the seniors, and they were all great essays, and it took us a while to come up with 5 again. But I encourage that everyone to please, next year we're going to start early, so we have enough time, and I want all the juniors parents to think about it right now. And one of the things that people keep getting surprised about, I just want to mention, is that they have to be PTSA members. So make sure that you or your families are part of the PTSA when you earlier in the year, so you can get all the benefits out of that PTA has to offer to your families. So be part of that earlier in the year, next year. With that, our FCCPTA 2021 scholarship recipients are, drum roll? No drum roll? Okay. I'll go with one by one. Here's how we're going to go. I will take one name, and then I'll give an opportunity to that student who's on, or their family, to say something, and then I'll announce the next one after that. Okay? So our first one is Ashrae Manchanda from Fairfax High School. Ashrae, you on?
Yep, I'm here.
All right, go for it. If you want to turn on your camera, that's fine as well.
Yep, my camera's on. So hello, everyone. My name is Ashrae. I am a senior at Fairfax High School, and next year I will be attending UC Berkeley for mechanical engineering. And yeah, I have a brief speech prepared. Should I give the speech now?
Go for it.
All righty. So yeah, thank you so much for everyone for inviting me onto the session. I've definitely enjoyed the past few presentations and have loved being a part of the PTSA. First off, I also want to congratulate the other 4 seniors alongside me who also won the scholarship. And I'm sure that each of them have also worked tirelessly to improve the conditions of our Fairfax community. The past year has been especially exhausting and draining for every single one of us, not just in our community, but around the world. Teachers have struggled to teach their students, healthcare workers have been overworked and under-equipped, and small businesses have struggled to even stay alive. Throughout high school, I've personally been a huge engineering and technology kind of nerd. I love playing around with 3D printers and have been very invested in robotics. Now, when the pandemic first struck, I knew I had to find a way to help and play my part in bettering the situation for others. After doing some initial research from home and prototyping and messing around with different products, I began producing a few different items to donate. And within a few weeks of producing these items, I had a volunteer director at Innova Fair Oaks Hospital reach out to the volunteers and asking for supplies and donations for their staff. I was immediately able to donate the 102 face shields that I had 3D printed, and I just love seeing how my own product was able to, and my own efforts were able to help the medical professionals that were working so hard for us. I was soon able to convince my parents to buy me 2 more 3D printers, and I began kind of mass producing these face shields at home. I began to spread the word of my efforts through social media and had tons of friends reach out to help me. I became the coordinator for a group of 3D printers and organized pickup and drop-off sites for these face shields to kind of funnel them towards donation sites. I was able to conduct weekly calls and schedule meetings with independent makers to help them resolve any technical problems they were having. I even began raising funds to supply our makers with materials so that they could continue producing the equipment free of cost. The makers were really grateful to have the opportunity to be able to help frontline workers and just appreciated having someone to be able to coordinate that for them. Some of the volunteers didn't have access to 3D printers or sewing machines to make face masks out of, but they instead held the powerful tool of a driver's license. So they were able to help transport materials from makers' houses to drop-off sites, and then from drop-off sites to donation venues. And soon I had some friends reach out from all around the country who wanted to duplicate the structure that I'd created in the DMV region. And after coordinating with others in 9 other states, I began to establish formal regional directors and manage their work in their own respective areas as well. And being able to work with a much larger team of makers significantly grew our ability to produce and donate equipment at even an international scale. And to date, the organization Hack the Pandemic has donated over 20,000 units of personal protective equipment internationally. It involved over 330 makers and collectively raised over $10,000 through corporate sponsors and individual donations. And it's just amazing to see that within just a few months, my boredom-inspired quarantine plans had become a nationwide movement of makers. So that is briefly what I've written my essay about for the scholarship. And thank you again.
Thank you, Ashrae. Congratulations again. And you are very inspiring, and I hope that you will inspire other students to also join PTSA as well, because we are your voice. We take your voices to next level, and we advocate for you guys. So hoping that you will advocate for us as well.
Of course. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. All right. Our next winner is, I'm sorry if I butchered the last name. It's Whitman Ochaya. If you are on from Thomas Jefferson High School.
Yes. Hello. It's Ochai. So thank you very, very much for having me today. I'd just like to start off by congratulating everyone here. Just thank you to the Fairfax County Council PTA for the work you guys do to help promote educational quality throughout the county. It's very much appreciated. I also want to congratulate the 4 other recipients of the scholarship. You guys 100% deserve it. Fantastic job. A couple years ago, I remember that the federal government shut down for a while because, budgetary issues. And basically, for 2 months, all federal government activity was frozen and no federal employees received their paycheck. Living in Northern Virginia, I saw a lot of stories, I heard a lot of stories about people in my community who, because of the emergency situation, were unable to buy food, pay rent, or even afford medical care because they weren't getting their regular income checks. So I started thinking to myself, what can I do to help? I mean, I'm just a kid, but I'm of the opinion that everyone can contribute to solutions to these large-scale problems in their own way. So I started looking into how can I contribute to a solution? So after doing some research, I found out that there's a big need for financial literacy education in America, particularly among the younger generation. By improving financial literacy, we can help people prepare for incidents such as a federal government shutdown and make sure and just help them improve the chances that if something happens, they'll be able to handle it financially. I spoke with teachers of financial literacy in the Fairfax County Public School system. I spoke with people who study financial literacy from like an economics perspective, and I also spoke with subject matter experts who did, finances for organizations. And I decided that because podcasting was becoming much more popular among people of like my age, I decided that I would create a podcast teaching financial literacy specifically aimed at teens and younger people. That was more than 2 years ago. 2 years later, the Money Ed podcast has been featured on the news. It's been featured in newspapers, on the radio. I've been able to interview amazing people like Dr. Catherine Eckel, who's considered one of the preeminent behavioral economists like in the US. We've reached more than 150,000 views of people listening to the episodes. But at the core, I'm just incredibly, incredibly grateful when people come up to me and tell me that they learned something from one of my podcast episodes. Because that to me indicates that the work I'm doing is helping prepare the younger generation to handle their money once they hit their careers. And that's the goal. So thank you very much to the PTA for this opportunity. And I'm grateful to be here.
Thank you so much and congratulations again. Our next winner is Iona Tinsley from Westfield High School. Iona, you on?
Hello, yes, I'm here.
All right.
Awesome. Okay, so hello, everyone. Good evening. Thank you so much again for this opportunity. And I'm so excited that I was able to be one of the winners for a scholarship. It was so awesome getting to hear the stories and like inspiration from the other recipients of the scholarship. And pretty much, yeah, so like one of the biggest things for me was I also liked really focusing on education. So once like lockdown started, school was hard for me. So I knew that school was even harder for the little ones and elementary schoolers. So I feel that the PTSA actually was just such a huge part in helping me spread a lot more STEM education or making education just a lot more interesting and engaging for students, because they were able to, some PTSAs in our county were able to actually like buy copies of my children's book. And then I would have the opportunity to come speak to their schools. And just one of the biggest things I loved showing kids was how STEM is in our everyday lives, and how things like sports, dancing, even cooking, and things like glitter too, all connects to STEM. And yeah, I just want to thank PTSA again for all the opportunities they have helped open up for me this year. And I hope everyone has a great night. And thank you again for this award.
Thank you, Iona. Congratulations again on your achievement. All right, our next winner is Trisha Kikosetti from Shentley High School.
Hello.
Trisha, you on?
Yeah, I'm right here.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, so my name is Trisha Kikosetti. I'm a senior at Chantilly High School, and I will be attending Harvard University in the fall. And firstly, I just want to thank the PTSA for everything you guys do, especially during this past year with COVID and everything. I know it's been tough, but you guys have been doing a really good job. And thank you so much for giving me this honor, and congratulations to all the other students who received this honor as well. So over the past, I would say about 2 to 3 years, I've been working on this clinical trial selection application. And the problem that I addressed through this application was kind of twofold. So firstly, patients aren't able to find clinical trials for which they may be eligible for due to a lack of knowledge. And also on the flip side, experimenters aren't able to find patients who may be eligible for their clinical trial. And that basically leads to a waste of a lot of potentially very impactful drugs and experimental therapies. And kind of like in order to bridge this gap between the experimenters and the patients, I led a team that built a clinical trial selection application that basically allows a patient to log into Medicare or Medicaid, and it basically just gathers their health information like age, diagnoses, gender, laboratory criteria, etc., and basically just matches them to clinical trials for which they may be eligible for based on that information. And also as a part of this application, I led a team that conducted a world coding relay. So how that kind of worked is after we built a base for the clinical trial selection application, I came up with the idea of a world coding relay because since the audience is obviously a very diverse group of veterans, I was thinking along the lines that the people who created the application should also kind of be diverse voices. So as a result, I came up with the idea of a world coding relay. And what would happen is essentially for 48 hours, the code would be passed down to different time zones in different countries. So different groups would basically pick up on the code and then modify it. And then if they didn't know how to code, then they would just like basically write comments or suggestions that the next team might be able to code. So this was a really enlightening experience for me because I was just able to see how diversity is really important in computer science and how computer science is more than just like, sitting around on your computer and coding all day. And it's more just about collaborating and how diverse voices are important. And also for this project, we were recognized at the national level. We received a national honorable mention from the Opportunity Project Census Bureau Demo Day event, which I'm really grateful for. So yeah, thank you so much for this honor. And once again, congratulations to all the other members who received this.
Wonderful story. Thank you so much for sharing. And again, congratulations for winning the scholarship. And our next scholarship winner is Siddharth Shah from Thomas Jefferson High School. Siddharth, I think he has a class or during this time. So, he's here. He's here. Okay.
Now, so it's really great that I was able to come here.
Go for it.
So thank you, everyone. And I'd like to offer my congratulations to Ashrae, Shrija, Whitman, and Iona for getting this award. I think I was listening to them and it sounded amazing, all the great things that they were doing. And so as for on my part, I'm actually going to be attending Vanderbilt University next year on their exclusive Chancellor's Diversity Scholarship. And while there, I hope to double major in CS or computer science and neuroscience and explore the integration of medicine and technology, how we can use it to optimize and automate the medical diagnostic process, ease the burden on physicians, and kind of make it as efficient as possible. So I'm a National Merit finalist, and during this whole COVID pandemic time, I realized that, like a lot of the other people said, education is really difficult. It's very difficult to get that one-on-one human connection. And that's where we really grow. When we get that one-on-one connection with an instructor, we're able to work with each other, collaborate, learn through shared experiences. And that was something that's lost. And that's something that can't be captured through Khan Academy asynchronously or just through worksheets. And that's where I got the idea. Why not start a program that helps the disadvantaged and the other privileged and those who are adversely affected by COVID-19 by creating free virtual summer camps in math, coding, the hard sciences, even computer-assisted design or CAD, in order to reinvigorate and foster an interest in STEM. And from what our research suggested, me and a couple of my other friends, we found that a lot of times if students are put along the STEM path at a middle school level, rather than trying to introduce it to them in the high school level, it fosters this idea of kind of self-study and self-investigation. And that pursues them, that kind of persuades them to challenge themselves academically at high school. So we founded this really cool nonprofit called Head Start Learning. And we collaborated with a lot of the Fairfax County Middle School after-school coordinators. So one of the after-school coordinators, Miss Emily Geary at Irving Middle School, was very helpful. She helped us connect with a bunch of other people. And at the end, I think we had about 300 students attending every week, attending our coding classes where we offered Java and Python, along with our Algebra 1 classes and CAD classes. And through these concepts, we were able to promote self-study. We were able to show them some of the things that we had learned and give back to the community and to kind of the whole teachers, the students, the parents that kind of fostered us and made us who we are today. So from that perspective, Head Start Learning was one of the best and most gratifying experiences that I could have ever done. For the Nanotechnology Club at Thomas Jefferson, I was the president, and I planned guest lectures and led classroom experiments. And the one in the picture was something called ferrofluid. And ferrofluid is made from nanoparticle-sized magnetite that's suspended in liquid, and that causes it to give the liquid some of the magnetic properties that you would normally see in the magnetite. So when in contact with the magnetic field, so if you can see here, it's a neodymium magnet is being next to the ferrofluid, you can see that it spikes according to the various different forces exerted along the magnetic field. And one of the really cool applications of this is actually cleaning up oil spills. And that's something that ever since the Gulf spill, right, the Persian Gulf spill that happened about 10, 15 years ago, we've been always looking for a way, an inexpensive way to recover the oil. And this is something that needs to be explored. And that the idea is that by dropping these small nanoparticles and ionizing the oil that's fallen in water, we're able to scoop it up using these sponges with magnetic properties along the surface of water. That way we can recover the water and we can recover the oil from the water and able to save marine life, because the pictures we saw, the marine life, how adversely it was affected by the oil was devastating. So this is a really cool application of nanotechnology, and it's something that's also going to be intersecting with the medicine and technology fields. And one of the other outreach programs that I founded was Operation Communication at Thomas Jefferson, where we corresponded with the local guidance counselor at Wayanoke Elementary School, which is about a walk away, a 2-3 minute walk away from Thomas Jefferson. And we were able to see that there were a few kids, about 20 or 30 in the whole second grade, that were struggling with isolation and were having trouble sharing, connecting with other students, and possibly due to adverse home situations or other social factors. And what we did is we paired them with TJ upperclassmen, so that about every once a week we would donate our time, walk over to Wayanoke, and that way interact with the students and provide reliable, consistent forms of encouragement and support. And by doing so, over time, these students were able to open up. They were able to share their experiences. They were more inclined to do some of the activities we participated. We moved over to the SAC building. So actually in the picture on your right, there's a picture of all of us in that one room. That's the SAC room. And together with them, we were able to play games like Sorry, chess. And over time, the most gratifying feeling was when we were no longer needed, where those kids were able to pick up a game and play with their other friends, play with other kids in the classroom. And we were just sitting on the sides, because even though we weren't necessary anymore, we felt that our role had kind of been accomplished, that those kids were now feeling confident in themselves and were ready to share with others, ready to interact and play on a really high level. So giving back to the community in that way was another really gratifying experience, and taught me a lot of empathy and kind of community service. So thank you again for awarding me the scholarship, and congratulations to the other 4 awardees. I know we're all going to go on to do amazing things.
Congratulations, Siddharth. Appreciate it. And just want to again thank you all the scholarship committee team, and also all the students that have participated in this scholarship program. One of the things that I do want to request to all the seniors that have participated and also are on the call today is go back and talk to your juniors and do tell them about this program, that they should be looking forward to next year to apply. It's a wonderful way. You all are amazing, and I just want everyone to please give a round of applause to all of these kids. They have done wonderful things in their communities, and have minds of out of the box thinking, and did a lot of great work. So I really appreciate it. And with that, Kara, I'm going to hand it back to you. Thank you.
Thank you. My internet is unstable. unstable. Larry, if you can hear me, take over.
I'm here and I am taking over. So obviously, thank you, Karen and Hamid, for coming on together with us and presenting that for you. And congratulations to all of our scholarship winners there. We don't have a whole lot going on here. We have a call for any open floor items. This is not so much our meeting, but it is yours. So if anybody has anything they'd like to ask or mention or comment, first hand I see up is Amanda. So please go ahead, Amanda.
Just have some announcements from SEPTA. Michelle Cades was here, but she had to leave to go to another meeting, so she asked me to deliver them.
Please.
The first one is we'd like to invite everybody to watch the SEPTA Awards ceremony. It will be Saturday, May 22nd at 7 p.m. It's going to be a virtual event again this year. So look for more information coming on that, but the time is definitely the 22nd at 7. The second is to announce that we've kicked off a literacy campaign. We have a position statement along with the joint letter with NAACP and DDVA and other community signatories. And we would love for any other organizations, PTAs, to join with us in the call for getting appropriate literacy access for all of our students. Any recommendations for the most user-friendly platform for PTA? We're getting a little bit frustrated with PT Board and trying to manage the gift membership thing within PT Board. So if anybody has any other recommendations, we would really love to hear. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else? Anybody else have anything to share? Any comments about other platforms? That could be a whole other round table on just other digital platforms, but anybody have anything to share? Nothing there. Just so you know, in case of something you heard today that you forgot or wanted to note down and you didn't, this was streaming on Facebook and as such is still on Facebook. So if you want to go back and revisit it because it is that entertaining, you can always find it on Facebook as well. And with that, I don't see anything else. I believe we have completed our agenda as it's stated so far. The time at the tone is 8:33 p.m. and we will be officially closing our meeting with that. Our meeting is officially adjourned. I want to thank you all for all the time and energy you put in. We'll see you all next year and feel free to reach out if anything pops up between now and then. Thanks so much.
Bye, guys.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Larry, can you hear
I'm
me?
staying, and
Yeah.
I think is Jamie still here?
Yeah, I'm still here.
She's still here.
Excuse me, I just want to say thank you very, very much for doing this.
Oh
You're
man, thank you for your
welcome.
energy too. You woke me back up.
You're welcome.
Too kind. Thank you very much and have a wonderful evening.
You too. All
right.
right.
So it has, I think Kim's still here. Hey, Kim. Oh, she left. Okay.
I just removed her.
No, okay. Everybody's that's left is an officer, and the meeting is locked and closed, so nobody else can get in.
Recording?
Recording is now ceased.
Still says live on Facebook.
I know. I'm taking care of that right now.